So a little while ago I built this pedal, which is a clone of a Guyatone BR2, and a friend of mine sent me this pedal to try out before it makes its way to him. And this is also supposed to be a clone of a Guyatone BR2. The idea of this video is to compare the two together, talk about them a little bit, what differences there might be, and see how they sound. So if you're not familiar with the BR2 or any of these pedals, what they are envelope filters, or also called auto WAs. Basically, it's just a normal filter, typically like a bandpass filter, and it responds to your playing. So if you play harder, you generate more electrical signal that goes into the pedal and applies the filter and modulates it depending on the strength of the signal. So it's the same thing as like a wah pedal with the treadle, right? It's just the treadle, instead of being controlled by your foot, it's being controlled by a transistor and the electronic signal going in. We'll go through the history of mine first. So the Grumpy Frog is a pedal that I built. I based it on a commercially available DIY circuit board that you can get from pedalpcb.com. It's called the Duck Box filter. And it's actually based on the WR2, which is Guyatone's guitar envelope filter or auto wah filter. And the BR2 that Guyatone made was supposed to be a bass version of the same pedal. So just a few components changed out to make it more voiced to bass frequencies than guitar frequencies. Being a huge Justin Chancellor fan and a huge Tool fan, I really wanted to try one. They're always super expensive, and I sort of took it upon myself to do a little DIY version. I ended up hitting up a couple of friends that have BR2s, told them to carefully remove the circuit board from the pedal so that they could take pictures of it. They sent me a bunch of pictures. I hand traced the circuit from the pictures, and I found out which components were changed. And to my fortunate surprise, the circuit that I had for a WR2 matched the BR2 with only a few component changes. So I did a prototype version, which is this guy, which is a 3D printed enclosure that I made, and using the pedal PCB circuit board with a couple of modifications that I made. And after I verified that worked, then I did this version, which is a metal enclosure. It's a circuit board layout that I designed, and there are no mods. It just, you build it and throw it in there. And it works, and I like the sound of it. It's very, it has a lot of that BR2 character, which is sort of quacky, or sort of like a guttural frog, which is why I named it the Grumpy Frog. So on the Grumpy Frog, the version that I made, I have the two controls that are on the original BR2, the threshold and decay controls. And then I also have this blend switch. And so that's from the WR2 circuit, and I just kept it in my clone. Basically, it just mixes your input signal in with the output at a 50-50 blend, which can help if you're using bass. It can help bring back those bass frequencies, or with guitar, it can retain definition. Now this guy, the TWA WR-3, it's made by Totally Wicked Audio, and it's supposed to be a BR2 and a WR2 in the same pedal. So you have a couple of different controls, more controls than the original BR2 version. You have threshold, gain, decay, range, and blend, and then you have a switch that you can swap between guitar and bass frequencies. But these are quality of life improvements, really. You have a gain, which can adjust the output of the signal. So if you play with a BR2 or any other type of envelope filter, usually there's a little bit of signal loss, and I don't mean that as tone, I mean that as literal electrical signal loss. So your volume will drop, and it won't sound as loud as if the pedal was bypassed. This helps bring that back with the gain control. You also have a range, so you can control the frequency range that the cutoff changes between, which is also really handy, and it's good if you want to find a very narrow spot, or if you like a narrow spot for your wah, or if you want it to have more of a complete sweep through the frequency range. And then you have a blend knob, so instead of a switch where it just is on or it's off, you have a blend knob, which you can change and modulate how much of your original signal you want in the output signal. They both use mechanical switches, although the WR3 here is supposed to have some sort of relay-based bypass switch. So it's still true bypass, but it's supposed to have some sort of relay circuitry in there to help with the switching. So as this isn't my pedal, a friend sent it to me to check out before it goes home to him. I didn't feel comfortable taking it completely apart, but I did take the back plate off and took some photos. Visually, it uses stacked boards, which is kind of interesting to me. I looked at the back-facing board. I couldn't really access the front board without taking it completely apart. But on the back-facing board, some of the input path looks the same as the Grumpy Frog or a BR2, although the transistor and the op-amp are different, and I can't tell if that's just like their relay switching system that they're using, or if they changed some of the components. So for the test, I'll be using my Adam Jones Epiphone Art Series and my LTD bass with Nordstrand pickups in it. And I really like the way envelope filters sound with distortion, so I'll be using a RAT2, and I want to use that just because a lot of people are familiar with the sound of it. As for conclusions, I mean, it is really fun to have something that you built on your own board. It's pretty cool. That said, if I hadn't built that, I would definitely get this guy. If you can find a BR2, that would be cool, but this has those quality of life improvements that really make it a little more useful or a little bit easier to work with and integrate in your rig, especially with the gain output. So thanks, Thomas, for sending me your pedal before it goes home to you. I like it, and I hope you enjoy it and play it a lot.